FirstDownline.com podcast.
The FirstDownline.com podcast.
Looks like they're going to measure here. Do you think they got the first down?
Now remember that the first down line is not official.
Your official enough download for the latest in sports and technology. Download it.
All right, First Down Line podcast, episode 6. It is time. We are here. We appreciate you hanging out with us, Ryan and Brett, along with you, and we want you to join in online if you can. Certainly go to our webpage, firstdownline.com, and you can check it out. It looks like, Brett, it's not the eve of your wedding, but it looks like your wedding's coming up. You're looking like you're wanting to show the shoulders off this time around. You've been working out, and you've been losing that wedding weight.
Well, that never actually had anything to do with it, just a regular thing, but I don't know, today I guess the tank top got pulled out of the closet, and there it went.
Well, you're looking good. You're sounding good. We appreciate you being on the line. Love the stories that you put out. We'll talk about those very soon, including the new Major League Baseball hats that are designed to help prevent injuries. I'll also get into some of the motion capture technology that's innovating the way that athletics try to reduce injuries. We got a bunch of stuff coming up. The NBA and NHL drafts are coming up, which I don't know if you knew that they were so close together. I don't understand why all three of them are in the month of June, including the Major League Baseball draft. So we'll talk about those. And that's going to be our Bring Out the Sticks, which is our question to you. You can find us online, twitter.com/firstdownline. You can tweet us there because we want to know, how would you improve those two drafts? I mean, the NFL has a stranglehold on all things draft, but for some reason, the NBA, and then to a far further degree, the NHL and Major League Baseball, those drafts show up, and all of a sudden you're seeing things on your Twitter feed going, oh, the Major League Baseball draft is today. So we want to know, how would you use technology to improve those?
I think first, the problem maybe for the NHL and Major League Baseball in terms of their draft is you've got so many guys who are being selected by teams that aren't going to come in right away and play. With the NFL and the NBA, those guys being drafted are trying to make that very next year's roster. And with the NHL, both high school or kids done with high school and going into college may continue their careers at that level before they make the jump to pro, and same with baseball, and that just throws so many, granted, yes, they're talented, but kids into the pool that you've still never heard of yet, and I think that sort of drowns out the interest in it when you don't know who these kids are, and maybe it's even hard to find a highlight reel for them. As far as improving the technology, from all levels, I actually just did a column on the NBA draft this week for the Herald and News about how I thought the NBA draft itself could improve a little bit, and being the smallest draft of the four, where only 60 guys are getting picked, I sort of felt like the NBA could increase the intrigue a little bit if they thought about actually combining the lottery and the draft into the same evening. I know teams would never agree to this because they're going to, say they don't have the proper amount of time or resources to be able to allocate that and make the proper selections. But to me, there's only 60 guys getting drafted. The teams that are going to be in the lottery, so that their focus is on those top 15 players. And I feel like there's no way those teams can't have a good read on those players that they're going to take in the lottery by that point. So I just thought it would be a little more fun to actually combine the lottery in and go ping pong ball for pick throughout those first lottery picks, and then technology-wise have the ability to maybe drop into a team's draft room and have a little bit of a live listen, live look in. I think that could potentially make the NBA's draft a lot more interesting.
Yeah, that's very much a reality show style idea where you're dropping those cameras and having the sound, kind of that fly in the wall feel, to be able to talk about, or hear rather what people are talking about. Yeah, I'd love it if they could do the lottery on the same night as the actual NBA draft. It would get some more eyeballs there. The NHL draft, it definitely suffers from what you talked about with the players not having that immediate impact. The NBA draft, you're going to get first-rounders who play the next year for the most part, but sometimes NHL players, even especially rather in rounds 2 and beyond, they're not going to have the impact early on. Here's some ideas we came up with at FirstDownLine.com, and we want to hear your thoughts, especially when it comes to using technology. But live tweeting with athletes, I think, would be an awesome way to get the different people involved, especially you look at this last NBA draft. I watched more of it actually than any NBA draft, probably since Andrew Bynum went to the Lakers. Maybe that's because this is the first lottery pick the Lakers have had in that span. And I remember, the Barclays Center is a little bit different than, say, the Radio City Music Hall venue for the NFL. But there's these tables. There's the green room. And there's more access in the Barclays Center because they're down in the pits as opposed to the NFL's green room where they're kind of off behind the curtain. You could have a dedicated camera for the tables, and then you could do a live tweet. Imagine, as you, a Green Bay Packers fan, imagine if you could have asked Aaron Rodgers, what's it like to fall this far? You go in that free fall. I mean, wouldn't that have been a cool aspect using modern technology with Twitter being more available? Most recently, Johnny Manziel used some football analogies. I think that'd be a great way to get more people involved in the NBA and NHL drafts.
Yeah, I do think that was cool, and maybe not so much the actual tweeting interaction itself, but I noticed the NBA this year, I don't know if they'd done it in the past, but they had the Twitter camera, whereas the guy got drafted, he walked up and he signed the camera glass. And that was kind of a cool thing, not necessarily an actual conversational interaction, so to speak, on Twitter, but I think a good use there. But yeah, I think the ability to actually be able to ask those draft picks, what they're thinking, or maybe they don't know which team they're going to yet, but to be able to ask them, just things about what they believe they can bring to the team, and just get that firsthand or first person response rather than maybe through something that had been published earlier in the week or whatever, but to just get that one-on-one feel would be kind of cool.
Send us your thoughts. That's twitter.com/firstdownline. You can email us fdl@firstdownline.com. And here's my, if I'm a politician and my platform is to try to improve the NFL or the NHL and the NBA drafts through technology, this is my platform. One of the most famous video games of all time is NHL 94. It's made top 10 lists, top 5 lists whenever someone decides to rank sports video games. So there's this history of hockey games being something that people enjoy, even if they're not necessarily casual hockey fans. I know by far I'm the biggest hockey fan in my immediate group of friends, but yet I still have people who will play hockey games with me. So why don't you, as soon as the player is drafted, that person is available to download into the prior year's video game. So let's say this year you owned NHL 2014. You could already import your player's most recent pick in a very loose interpretation. You're not obviously going to have the full-on headshot, and you're not going to have attributes that might be the most accurate, but you have, from scouting and other kind of reports, you have some information. EA Sports could kill with that kind of approach, and then use Twitter to release those things. So you get a social media interaction, and then if that's too much of a technological hardship, you don't have the infrastructure to do that, and then just make it an add-on. By the end of the draft, or maybe the week of the draft, you can download for $9.99 a roster pack that goes into your old game, and that way you don't have to wait for the new game to come out to play with your best players or your new players. Because the way I see it, I'm a Flames fan, these last couple of years have been rough. If I can quickly forget about the prior season and start playing with the new guys to try to change things up, I think that'd be a fun way to go. I think EA Sports has a huge opportunity there.
Yeah, I guess, are you thinking that would be something that would be a free download or something that they would be able to make a little bit of money on?
Yeah, with that $9.99, I mean, they could definitely get revenue with it. Otherwise, I think it'd be really cool to get, for the NHL, for example, to get eyeballs. You have your person watching, right? And then even with Xbox One, too, you could have it snapped. So you have NHL 14 snapped with the big part of the screen showing the draft, and all of a sudden they announce Sam Bennett drafted 4th by the Flames, and then bam, I can go to the game, and there he is to download right into the game, and I could start playing before the draft is even, at least the first round even over, especially with the second through later rounds coming on the next day. I think that would be really cool.
That would be cool, and I guess something else that they could think about doing too is even the ability to, if you didn't want to have it just as a sold add-on, maybe have that instant download available, but have it built in with like a pre-sale of the NHL 15 that's coming out later. So you buy the pre-sale now, and you get the roster that you can put on your 14 version, but then you've also got your 15 sale, which obviously they want you to buy the game every year. Waiting on, and I know something that they do at very least with Madden and NBA 2K series is, but they're more community-based ones where people will put those draft classes together that you can import. But like a lot of times, with this NBA draft, I was kind of thinking the same thing. I've already got a franchise mode started that's in progress. You have to pick to download those community draft classes right at the beginning. So there's guys like, for instance, Wisconsin's Sam Decker, who were in this draft class that I had to import, so it's not completely accurate. So it would be cool to be able to have an actual accurate draft class that you could punch in or maybe update from what you had previously put into your game.
All right, hit us up, twitter.com/FirstDownLine. We want to know. This is First Down Line Podcast, Episode 6. Ryan and Brett with you. And, Brett, you took a look at some new technology when it comes to headwear for Major League Baseball players.
Yeah, and, I'm actually a little surprised that this maybe didn't get more play. I feel like it was kind of undersold, and maybe it's just because the number of head injuries in baseball is a lot less than the NFL. I'm not sure exactly, but it sort of seemed like a story that maybe got undertold a little bit. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention. I don't know, but this hat by Isoblox has been being developed for a while, and while it just made its debut for Alex Torres for the Padres about a week ago, it seemed to me like maybe there wasn't a ton of information out there, but I sort of feel bad for the guy a little bit, because here's a guy as a pitcher who has already taken a bat off the ball to the head, and he's just trying to protect himself, but all the guys on the team are giving him grief about it looking like a Super Mario hat and everything else, and he's just trying to think about his family in a way that he can both prolong his career as well as protect himself from a future injury that in some cases has killed people. But
and let's be honest, I mean, there's worse things you could look like than Super Mario. I mean, he's a stud of decades old. But I get your point.
That's very true. But yeah, it's just basically your regular baseball cap with some padding built into the temple areas as well as the front of the hat that is rated to protect from a ball coming back at the pitcher between 85 and 90 miles an hour. And there are some, I guess, unofficial records that ESPN and other places have kept where there are balls that do get hit back at the pitcher harder than that. But it's certainly a step in the right direction. I think one of the things that I put in my story was over the last 6 seasons, 12 pitchers had gotten hit in the head by balls batted back at them, and it may seem like a low number, but when you become the guy that gets hit by one of those, it sure probably feels like you wish there was something else you could have done to prevented that, or at least help decrease the level of injury.
Yeah, I did think it got underplayed slightly just because I hadn't, until you put your article out, seen, and it definitely does look like a Super Mario hat, especially in the tweet that you can see at firstdownline.com, because when you first look at it, there's a tweet that we embedded there, and it looks like someone photoshopped a really gigantic San Diego Padres hat on top of Alex Torres. But that said, you want to protect people. What else do you do? I mean, I guess you could go the route of putting the guy in a batter's helmet, but because of the weight, I'd imagine that would throw people off.
Yeah, and actually the weight of the hat, from what I was able to find out, it's only I guess 7 ounces to your average hat. I guess I'd have to place a hat on my head right now and then, maybe take a little bit of pocket change and weigh out 7 ounces to kind of understand maybe what the difference is. But it doesn't really seem like that much. And at least from Torres's experience wearing it, he said that in his throwing and everything, it really didn't have any effect that he could see on himself. So, I guess if players can, get past that self-conscious point of wearing the hat, and if it really does provide an extra level of safety, maybe we'll start to see more of this in baseball. As of right now, I believe that Torres is still the only one to have worn it, and I don't know. I guess we'll see where it goes in the future.
This is the First Down Line podcast, episode 6. You can join us every 2 weeks, Sunday nights at 4:30. We want you to join in as we're working on getting this to be an actual Google Hangouts on air where you can get everyone involved. So if you want to join, ask questions in our Q&A, or also through Twitter, twitter.com/FirstDownLine. We'd love to know. Motion capture is something that in the technology realm, Brett, you wrote about looking at certain teams that are utilizing this, and one has had outstanding results. An Australian Roos football team, you write, they had an ACL injury-free season. That's the first time in 100 years. That's pretty impressive technology if it's working like that.
Yeah, when I guess, regardless of sport, regardless of what level you're playing at, if you're talking, professional adult leagues, anytime that you see even a statistic like ACL-free for the first injury-free for the first time in 100 years, I think you're almost foolish from a perspective of another team in another league or whatever to at least not look into what allowed that to be, because it just really seems like as time goes on, those types of injuries are really on the rise and continuing to increase. And one of those teams to look into this technology is the Missouri Tigers, and the focus of the article was kind of more on the football team and what they're trying to do, but it looks like what the name of this company is Dynamic Athletic Research Institute, and in working with the University of Missouri, they're allowing this technology to be used throughout the athletic department for all of Missouri's teams. So, if Missouri adds itself as another program to have a huge reduction in injuries, you can certainly bet, I would think, on a lot of other teams, both at collegiate and professional levels, really starting to look into this. But basically what the motion capture does is they go athlete by athlete. They step into this little box-like room that has sensors, and it's sort of, when you look at the computer monitor do its thing, it sort of snaps to the person when they step into the right spot inside this little room, and sort of turns them into a stick figure on the screen. And then the athlete is basically just asked to do some real basic kinds of movements. And what the computer program does is it pinpoints little areas within those movements by the athlete that might be considered slightly dangerous, or if perhaps the form isn't quite right, that could provides biomechanical information that can point out things that the athlete can do better or work on in hopes to prevent injury.
Read that article and a lot of the others at firstdownline.com. I thought it was a cool way that if you can prevent injuries by taking those kind of preventative measures, it reminds me a little bit of another topic we discussed before on the podcast with teams like the Green Bay Packers, I believe using the company Catapult, but I can't remember if that's the right one.
Yep.
Yeah, so they're doing that, and Green Bay has been impacted by numerous injuries in recent years. So check those stories out, firstdownline.com, and we do want to hear your feedback. You can tweet us the Twitter handle, FirstDownLine. Pretty simple. Be sure to check us out on Twitter as well. You can see the latest stories. And we do a lot of sharing through the week, too. You kind of consider us a place where you can go for sports and technology, whether we're writing it ourselves or sharing it from other great websites that are out there as well. Sean Barnes gave it a shot. He wasn't able to join us today, but we do encourage you to check out his article right now at FirstDownLine.com, posted earlier today. It's a pretty cool article because it goes about finding ways to help people who lose limbs, in this case it's a leg, try to find a way to continue enjoying some of the things they love doing. And in this case, it's an attachment, a prosthetic that you can use for rock climbing. And I thought it was a really cool story. A little bit short, 3 paragraphs. You can go there, read it in a couple of minutes, and check it out because, I mean, Sean's an avid rock climber, so of course, anything to support that sport continuing its way, then I think that's a pretty cool deal. I want you to check out all the sites at web stories rather at FirstDownLine.com, but also let's get to some cool things, including some downloads this week. This one's not so much a download. I don't have an app to share with Brett and everyone else, but I do have a pretty cool thing that Wimbledon did, as you may know, that's going on right now at the Old England Club. It's going on right now on ESPN. It's pretty much getting all of their time outside of the World Cup, and it's a pretty cool thing that they're doing using that. So a lot of the same IBM technology that was used in the U.S. Open, but this is the Social Command Center, and they use heat, kind of like a heat signature, to show you which courts are getting the most talk on Twitter and things like that. So if you look at the second from the top on the left-hand side, social court, the most social court right now in this particular snapshot was court number 2. 61% of the conversation about Wimbledon was targeting that particular court, which I thought was a pretty cool deal. So want you to check it out. It's in our Twitter feed, twitter.com/firstdownline. But Brad, this is along the lines of the NBA and NHL drafts. I mean, it's just ways to use social media to advance the enjoyment of certain sporting events.
Yeah, I think people are interested to see, those kinds of numbers, and I think we even kind of talked about that a couple weeks ago in regards to advanced statistics and things like that that might be coming within TV broadcasts and stuff in the near future. But, I think obviously a lot of different matches going on simultaneously, so if somebody just wants, the quickest way to find out, what the best one might be, if they only have time to tune in for a few minutes or whatever, it's just a quick way to interact with a bunch of other people who are interested in the same thing and find the best content.
FirstDownLine.com. Gadgets.
So along the same lines as downloads this week, we have a lot of cool things in the gadgets section, and one is a featured article at FirstDownLine.com. You have to go see it because there's a really cool Kickstarter that's out there right now to enhance what people can do on their own with action sports. I don't know, do you wakeboard or anything, Brett?
I haven't, no.
No wake. See, I thought you're an athletic dude. I figured, especially with Wisconsin, where you come from, what do you got, like 50 bajillion lakes between you and Minnesota?
Well, Minnesota calls themselves the land of 10,000 lakes. Wisconsin doesn't make such a claim, but it outdoes them by a couple thousand more. So, but no, actually, my family never had a boat when I was growing up or anything. So, for us, most of the time the lake was just a place to go swimming or whatever. So I really haven't done a whole lot wakeboarding or water skiing or anything like that. But it certainly looks to be a fun sport.
Yeah, I mean, the GoPro completely changed things for people who are into action sports, especially amateurs. I mean, a pro can, and as I even opened the article with when I wrote it earlier, I remember going snowboard shopping for the first time, and there's a bunch of looped videos going on all these TV sets and the different snowboard shops we checked out. Well, you can get a professional camera crew and a helicopter, and you can make some really badass action sports movies. But the GoPro came out, and that changed it so that you could do it from an amateur level, but everything that you could do had to do with, a first-person view of action sports. And I don't think that was nearly as fun. Well, this is what the company Helico is doing with AirDog. It's an auto-follow drone, and they have a YouTube video that's attached to their Kickstarter program. I can show you a little bit of this on mute, but there's this helicopter, and it's actually a quadcopter, it was made, the prototype, with a 3D printer, and it is capturing this using a wrist device that this gentleman is showing you, that goes onto your wrist, or you can attach it however you want to go on your body. They had to make it gigantic for the time being, and it's relatively gigantic. But the point is, you can put that on there, and this thing will follow you. And there's going to be, or kind of already is, an app that you can use your smartphone to kind of adjust the angle and things of that nature. But I was trying to see if in the video there's a thing that shows it taking off for the first time, and it's a pretty cool deal. Yeah, right here. So that's the air leash. The air dog follows it, and then you just tell it, hey, turn on, and this bad boy starts its engines and flies up to the initial height that you set for it. I mean, how cool is this thing? I even thought about it from a standpoint of, I'm a guy who enjoys video production and whatnot, and I thought of it just in the sense of, could I get some cool overhead shots of different things? And they allude to that in the Kickstarter video. A couple of years back, I started a video streaming network for Division III college, and they had made an iPhone-controlled quadcopter that you could attach, or actually had a camera built into it. I was like, I should buy this, and we should use it for overhead shots, kind of like Skycam on ESPN, but we always worried that it would fail and lose its connection and then plummet into the game, and that wouldn't have been cool. But if you could attach this to something in the game, like maybe a referee or something like that, hopefully it'd follow the action. I could get some pretty cool stuff as a Division III streaming network. Oh, looks like we lost your audio, bud. You back? Let's see. Nope, we're subbing. Yeah, there we go. Now we can hear you.
Okay, so first thing that came to my mind, that might be a little trickier, but even somebody out on their own, maybe doing some hunting or fishing, the locale might, in terms of trees, if you're hunting or whatever, might provide some challenges. But depending on the noise that this thing makes, to maybe be able to, if you've got a field and you're hunting and you can fly that thing, maybe if there were, it sounds by the wristwatch thing that this would maybe be something in the future, but be able to kind of fly it over what you're targeting and then kind of have it follow the action back to you as you're trying to get it would be pretty cool. Or just to fly over your boat as you're fishing all across the lake. But yeah, this technology certainly seems like it has a pretty wide range of possibilities, and just on that brief little deal you were able to show on the video, it seems like a really cool idea.
Their Kickstarter is still going on, so you have to check it out. And if you have any spare cash that you don't need, definitely contribute to it. This is our Twitter feed. Connect with us, twitter.com/FirstDownLine. We are out of time to get to some more cool gadgets that we were going to talk about, but they are discussed, including this GPS device that was used by Florida State last year. There's some other things in here as well that we want you to check out. So go visit us, twitter.com/FirstDownLine, and we'll talk to you hopefully in 2 more weeks. Have a great 4th of July weekend, and it's kind of the halfway point between episode 6, which was just now, and episode 7 that's coming up as well. Brett, you're going to do your best to contribute some things, but I know that you have some important deals coming up in your life, so to you and your bride-to-be, congratulations. Good job getting married by the time that we talk to you next, or at least close to then.
Thanks, appreciate that, and look forward to joining back up with you in, I guess, about a month via podcast style.
Yeah, we're absolutely going to miss you, bud. All right, this has been FirstDownLine.com podcast. A lot of fun, and be sure to join us in a couple of weeks.
That's it for the FirstDownLine.com podcast. Check out more at our webpage at FirstDownLine.com.